Welcome to the Angus Report. I'm Clint Mefford, and we're bringing you the latest cattle news and education. This month, we're focusing on Next Generation, part of the association's belief statement, Raising Standards. This week, we discuss Generation Z's plan to take over the family farm. We chat with Regional Manager Jake Troutt, and we sit down with Association Director Alan Miller. Then finally, we head to Nevada to visit Salvador Galindo of the Star Creek Ranch. This is the Angus Report. A study released by Osborne Barr Paramore reveals many challenges and opportunities on the horizon for the agriculture industry as the next generation prepares to take over the farm. Dustin Johansson, Vice President of Osborne Barr Paramore, discusses the study titled Farmers of Tomorrow, Generation Z's Future in Agriculture, which examines how the next generation views farming and ranching.
So in early 2017, Osborne Barr Paramore set out to learn more about Generation Z. So much has been done about the millennial generation, but not a lot around Generation Z. We know that is the next wave of individuals to be engaged in the agriculture industry, farming operations, and agribusiness. So what we wanted to go out and do was understand perceptions as compared to their parents and grandparents. And so what we found out was, this is the most diverse generation in our history of the country. This generation has only grown up with mobile technology. And also what was very interesting was this generation has more keen interest in global culture and a more connection to the global culture, which will really benefit agriculture going forward because they understand the importance that maybe their operation plays on the world stage. And long term, that will benefit agriculture all around. But as we got into the study and attributes and perceptions of agriculture, what we found out is there's a expectation difference between what the parents and grandparents are expecting. 68% of the respondents said that they are expecting Generation Z to take over the farming operation one day, whereas only 46% of the Gen Z respondents feel that their parents are expecting that to happen. It's almost a 22% gap in expectation, and that really gets into the communication. One thing that we found, and probably many of your producers today are going through these discussions of transition of the farming operation. Generation Z wants to be engaged. They're very inquisitive. They want to learn and apply that education back home and really help improve their operation. So getting Generation Z and the children involved at an early age, getting them involved in the decision-making process, and just helping them feel more engaged will really benefit that transition and hopefully encourage them to come back to the farming operation. Another area of the research that we asked about was technology. And obviously with this generation growing up with a highly technical background and access to technology, they're very keen to want to apply new practices into the operation to help efficiencies and help improve what they produce on a day-to-day basis. That was very evident. Also, we asked about involvement with trade organizations, trade associations, and engagement in learning opportunities. This generation wants to be very active. They want to be involved, which is great for an organization like the American Angus Association. And also, when they attend these events, they're looking for education opportunities. They want to learn. They want to find out what other producers are doing back home so they can apply those best practices into their own operations. So as we're looking at building out conferences, building out meetings, those educational opportunities are very good for Generation Z. Also within the research set, we did ask specific questions around the livestock industry, and we asked them who they felt it was a responsibility to tell their story to the consumer. And the good thing is, as producers, they feel it's their responsibility to tell that story to the consumer about the quality product, the sustainable measures they take to produce that quality product to the end-use consumer audience. But they did ask for support from industry, whether it be trade associations, agribusiness, to help arm them with the facts and data so they can carry that message to the consumer audience. So we have a great generation that wants to take accountability, that wants to share that message with the consumer audience. So in our second round of research, what we found is there is a very strong willingness to want to come back into production agriculture and take over the family operation and or the agribusiness. But the biggest concern of Generation Z is having financial stability. They want to ensure that they have a steady paycheck, that the family operation can sustain multiple families, and they don't want to be a burden on the overall family. So one way that they can do that is also being active in the agriculture industry, with an off-farm job, if you will, but still staying heavily engaged with that family operation. But again, as far as that communication channel, keeping them engaged, involving them now in the decisions to keep them involved and help them carry that operation forward into the next generation.
Visit farmersoftomorrow.com to view the full study. Stay tuned, we'll be back with more Angus Report after a break.
Welcome back to the Angus Report. Regional managers are the boots on the ground communication for the American Angus Association. Today, we're catching up with Regional Manager in Area 12, Jake Troutt. He covers Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Hawaii. Thanks for joining us today, Jake.
Thanks for having me.
So, how have registered Angus bulls been selling in your region this season?
I would say that the demand for registered Angus bulls this year is higher compared to last year. There were more bulls sold this year compared to last year, and the averages were about the same, if not higher. So that was a good sign. The quality of bulls sold in my region has been exceptional. The commercial cattlemen have taken notice of that, and Angus breeders have really focused on what their customers need, and it's really shown.
Absolutely. How about females?
The demand for females has been steady in relation to last year. Where there was an influx in the number of bulls sold this year, the number of females has gone down, but the averages have stayed close to the same as they were a year ago.
Have you been noticing any trends in your region?
Yes, Angus source is a big topic of discussion. It seems like almost every sale I go to, commercial cattlemen are asking me about that program and how to get involved. Many commercial breeders sell on the video out here in the West, and it's proven time and time again that Angus source enrolled calves do very well and fetch top dollar.
Excellent. So you've been getting a lot of rain out in your area. How has that affected producers?
So in the last month or so, we've gotten more rain and moisture than we have in quite a long time. Usually it's pretty dry this time of year. And so ranchers have been trying to get their hay up in time, and it just keeps getting rained on. So it's been difficult to manage and try to prioritize their time around what they need to get done when it just is raining all the time.
So how excited are you that the Angus Convention is headed west to Reno this year?
Everybody out west is very excited about the Angus Convention headed to Reno. It's going to be a great opportunity for members and commercial cattlemen alike that don't get to go to the convention when it's held in the Midwest or back east.
That's excellent news. We can't wait to see everyone out west in Reno. Don't forget the convention registrations open on July 1st. Thanks so much for joining us, Jake. Safe travels out on the road.
Hey, thanks for having me. Can't wait to see you guys down the road.
We check in now on the latest cattle market news with the Cattle Facts Update.
Hello, and welcome to the Cattle Facts Update. I'm Troy Bockelman. In the most recent USDA release for the week of May 11th, steer carcass weights were 852 pounds. This was up 4 pounds when compared to a year ago. Seasonally, this is the time that weights find the yearly low and move higher into the fall. Wet and cold weather in the central cattle feeding areas of Nebraska and Kansas throughout the winter played havoc on the cattle performance and weights. The average break in steer weights is 4% from the October high to the following May low. And due to the rough winter, weights have broken nearly 6% during this period this year. Just as weights decreased at a greater than average rate, weights are expected to increase at a greater than seasonal rate into the fall as well. CattleFax currently projects weights to reach a peak in the fourth quarter that will be at least 10 pounds above a year ago. Increased cattle on feed and a large placed against supply for this time period, resulting in increased cattle on feed longer than 150 days, will contribute to the increased weights. This will likely be driven by fears of available harvest shackle space as well as unprofitability in the cattle feeding sector. These factors combined would lead to a fed cattle market that would be considered uncurrent, or in other words, cattle are harvested after the initial placed against time period. In an uncurrent market, cattle are generally fed longer and are harvested at heavier weights. During the fourth quarter, fed slaughter is expected to average 1.5% above year-ago levels. When combining the increased slaughter and heavier weights, fed beef supplies will be above year-ago levels and could weigh on the cattle market. Current expectations are for the fed cattle cash market to make a later than seasonal low and could test the $100 to $105 level in September or October. For the Angus Report and Cattle Facts, I'm Troy Bockelman.
To learn more about Cattle Facts, your leading source for beef industry market information, visit cattlefax.com.
Next on the Angus Report, we visit with an association director. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Alan Miller served on the National Junior Angus Board from 1993 to 1995. In 2016, he was elected to the American Angus Association Board of Directors, becoming the first board member to have also served on the junior board.
You know, the National Junior Board, obviously, and I can't imagine anybody that's ever wore the green coat that wouldn't tell you the same thing about what an incredible experience that is, the opportunities you have to meet people, travel the country, see new things, have new experiences. But you know, it truly is, and the way ours is set up and the way our program's set up, is truly is kind of a culmination of your junior career. I mean, there is no higher honor in most juniors' minds than being elected to that junior board. Truly elected by your peers, elected at the end of your career, elected as an opportunity to be a leader, elected as an opportunity to be the visible front of the junior programs. So actually, I was never aware that I was the first junior board member to be elected to the national board. That was something I never even knew, I guess, until well after my election. And I'd like to think that, you know, that's a little bit of a testament to the fact that we're doing something right at our junior programs, that we are actually through our junior programs developing leaders of the next generation, whether that's me or any of my contemporaries. The tie for both boards obviously is the Angus cattle and the Angus people, you know, and obviously as you move up to the adult level, there's dramatic increase in responsibilities and you know, what members you know, want out of you and demand and deserve, so to speak. But I think there's tremendous responsibilities at the junior level too, to be the face of the junior organization and the face of these kids that are coming up and stuff is probably more of a responsibility than a lot of us realize a lot of times. And so, you know, while on the adult board we have a lot of weighty issues that we deal with all the time. We have a lot of members that have strong feelings, and rightfully so, in a lot of different directions, and a lot of very intelligent board members with different views of things. You know, it takes some doing to balance that, but certainly, you know, having the opportunity to come up all the way from ground zero to that point certainly has provided a ton of experiences that are pretty useful. You know, the 5 other junior board members that were on my class, you know, there's 2 or 3 of them that I keep in contact with on a regular basis still, you know, that I talk to multiple times a year, you know, and so it's pretty cool, the bonds you build through that junior business. I have kids now. My kids are 13, 15, and 9. Their junior Angus experience will be so much different than mine. You know, whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, depends on your perspective. They grew up here in a family that's very active on the national scene, traveling and showing, basically the exact opposite of the way I grew up. You know, and that's good and bad. I mean, they're starting out being exposed to a lot more stuff, being exposed to a lot more activities, travel, events, and they've got more friends at a younger age in the business than I ever dreamed of having. And so that's awesome, you know. But the flip side of that then is trying to make sure that you kind of allow them to choose their own path and to decide if this is something they really want to do or something they're just doing because it's mom and dad's job, you know, and passion. And so it is very rewarding, though, when you do see those signs or hear those comments that this is something they truly love and something they truly want to do, you know, for a long time, rather than, well, we're just coming along because mom and dad are making us, you know. And so any parents out there, I think, can kind of relate to that, you know. Everybody's kids are different, everybody's experiences are different, and try to figure out how to allow them to find their own way and allow them to, you know, hopefully keep them on the right track. It's always kind of a balancing act, but it's awfully rewarding, and it's awfully fun then to see them have a little success and then to see them have similar passions to what I had.
Up next, we visit Star Creek Ranch in Nevada. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Angus Report. In 1978, 16-year-old Salvador Galindo set his boots down in Nevada sagebrush, driven by the hope that a ranch job in the high desert could take him far in life. Fast forward a few years, and a few cattle, he now owns Star Creek Ranch and raises 450 head of commercial Angus cows, becoming a true testament to the American dream.
I lived in my country in '78. I was young. I was just turned 16 years old. We came to this country and we come and work here. And I used to live in this bunkhouse. That's where I lived the first time I came, and it's kind of old. That nobody's living in there now. So.
Show me your guys' house.
Which house?
Oh, this house right here.
Yeah, well, that was the boss house. This is just the main house where the boss used to live. I never thought I was going to live in the house. It was different table, but we used to go in there. The boss used to sit over here. The employees we used to go over there. And right in the corner was my place, I guess. Yep, okay, John. Not like it was the second time. It was the best. The one I cooked.
I don't think that he gives himself enough credit coming from where he did. My dad came from a family of 14 kids, and although he came over here to work when he was very young, he started working over there when he was very young. He stopped going to school to work and help the family. And my aunts always talk about how they remember him taking them all to the kitchen and helping my grandma feed them.
This is the kitchen in the house that he grew up in Mexico. It has 2 rooms, but at one point they only had the 1 room.
And they grew up on a ranch where there were no electricity, there's no plumbing, there's no water. So life wasn't easy for them. And life isn't easy in Mexico. Education-wise, my dad, he went to 2nd, 3rd grade, I think, and over there it's a privilege. You have to pay to go to school. Here, I think a lot of people take advantage of the opportunities that you do have here, but he knew immediately what hard work was.
And I was like 11 years old when I had to work in the field like a man, and that's how I grew up.
It's crazy to think about how young he was when he came over here. Really just a kid, really 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid. Everybody talks about the American dream and coming over and working here. And I think he landed here at the ranch, and I guess he decided he liked it and he wanted to stay. That's when we hear the story of, he told my mom, all right, well, either you marry me or I'm going back and I'm not coming back. I admire my mother, who 10 days after they got married went on this huge adventure with him to come over here, not knowing anything or what she was getting herself into. They literally had 2 bowls, 2 spoons, but they'd still have people come over and friends come over, and 2 people would eat at a time. My mom washed the dishes and 2 more people would eat at the time, and nobody complained. It wasn't like, people just understood. Just to put it in perspective of how poor or where they started.
And this is the same way it was when I come over here the first time, And when I come over here at the ranch and start working, I find out it's it is different, but it's kind of same thing. It's work. Work 12, 15 hours and 18 hours a day. I was used to sit up at the environment. That's how I end up, in this business. I'm not a real cowboy, but I think I know what to do with the cows. It is hard work, but like I say, I have no education, so I had to do the hard work.
He talks about not having a whole lot of education. I think he's very humble when he talks about that because life has taught him a lot.
It was probably at the end of '87 or '88 when my boss decided that, he wanted to go back to California, and I've been over here, a long time, so I kind of know the job. So he told me if I, just manage it for him. And I said, well, we can try it, see if I make it. I never managed anything before. One time I mentioned to him that I like to have cows. He kind of told me how we can do it, and that's how I started. So when he was ready to not lease the place, I have like about 300 cows.
Little by little, letting him take over, buying a few cows here, taking over the lease, slowly buying the equipment, and then until it became himself, this was his business.
We were a little scared. We're like, that's a lot of work, and just for one guy.
I was kind of scared first when I started, And I used to spend that much money, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay it, but one day I thought, well, I just do it. If I come out all right, good. If you don't, well, I do something different. So, but it is like when I buy the place or start buying it, I didn't feel no different.
When he was just a worker and managing, and then became the owner and the boss, there wasn't change because he just still was doing what he would love to do.
Maybe somebody else, they started buying a place like I'm doing, and they probably don't want to work. I don't want to do that. I like to work if I can.
He doesn't really think he's done much. He's just done his best.
That's how we started, and after years, I don't know what happened, but I'm still here. So. Whatever I am now, it's just my wife support me all these years. That's kind of big thing for me. And my kids, they did good, so that was the other part of it. So I feel really good, I'm really proud of the family that I have. So I don't say I have the perfect family, but I'm really proud of my family. I can say that.
This truly is home. Now with my daughter, it's the place that I want her to know. It's always Grandpa's ranch, that's home.
They came here for that American dream and to provide for their family in Mexico and their family now and give us a better life than they had and they have. They've given us an amazing life.
Well, Salvador's story is certainly an inspiration to all of us. And that's a wrap for this week's Angus Report. Tune in next week for industry-leading news and education. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Angus TV, for more highlights from the association. We'll see you next week.